This week on RSBANDB Update, it's Quest Week with City of Senntisten, picking up the pieces from Battle of the Monolith. The Elder God eggs are hatching. We explore City of Senntisten and the characters' true intentions. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 835, recorded Thursday, June 24th, 2021. Azzanadra did nothing wrong. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us here for another episode of RSBANDB Update. Last week, fresh off the RuneScape 3 mobile launch, we're just going bing, bang, boom, one after another, and this week it's City of Senntisten. Tanis, you're here as you are each and every week. Welcome back.
Thank you, Shane.
Also joining us this week is Questcaping for Quest Week from Clan Quest. Welcome aboard.
Hello, how many times did you say quest in that sentence?
Many times. And also to talk about this quest is Earth, one of the long-standing hosts and friends of the podcast. Because, you do quests too, and you enjoyed this one. So I thought, let's bring you on board as well, because, Tanis, I don't think we need to remind the listeners about your accessibility issues with Battle of the Monolith and everything working up to that, do we?
Well, no, and hey, I'm glad Earth is here, because he used to be one of the OGs to come on and talk about quests. Like, I used to wait for Earth to come on to tell me how horrible a quest may be. I remember, he's the one that let me know that Birthright of the Dwarves was going to be rough. But there was the potential to torture people, so hey, there was that.
Yeah, and I'm
just enjoying hearing all of the nice things about me. You guys can go on with this.
You gave me hell for torturing people in that quest.
Yeah.
Well, someone needs to.
But yeah. Mod Raven liked the torture sequences, and he was specifically told by Mod Osborne to not build any more into quests going forward.
That's probably best.
But that's, of course, aside from the point. If you're joining us for the first time, you can follow along with the show notes at update.rsbnb.com. And, of course, we are also in Friends Chat BitsBytes if you want to chat with us there. But before we dive into City of Senntisten, we need to sum up the epilogue of Battle of the Monolith. And, I'm kind of glad that fighting was done this week. Aren't you guys?
We got a little bit of interaction to just ride it on out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit flat.
Yeah. And, I mean,
I had a hard time with the last one finding everyone.
Yeah, we talked.
I think I spent more time running around trying to figure out where they all spawn.
Yeah, that was a common issue each and every week for us too, especially on Tanis' side. And while we appreciate the lore that it brings, it's just kind of annoying that it had to come that way with people spread so far out. But the battle's over. Otakar are retreating. They see that, okay, perhaps we lost this battle. We're losing too many of our own. And they said that they need to retreat back to the volcano to effectively repair and rejuvenate for the battles that are coming going forward, which in its own sounds kind of ominous, doesn't it?
Wouldn't it be great if we had an Elder God War coming up?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fitting?
Yeah, and we didn't really mention this last week, and maybe we'll get to it in. I think I wanted to get that in Sirion's question after, but there are 4 fronts of the Elder God Wars coming over the next 4 months, 1 front per month, which will obviously take place in Senntisten, which is why this quest needed to be done. But also with the Battle of the Monolith, Nex seems to be quite distraught because Char disappeared into the Monolith, presumably on the other side with Zaros at Erebus, and Nex is wondering, when are we going to save Char? And Nex is currently and seems very preoccupied with the idea of saving Char, which, I mean, did that surprise anyone?
She's got to get her girl back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like the weirdest love triangle in RS. Like, the Char is chasing Zaros, and Nex is chasing Char.
Yeah.
Like,
Is she? Did I missed that?
I think it's heavily implied.
I think they sort of backpedaled on it lately.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Now, of course, the one everybody is going to want to talk to with this is Azzanadra. At the end of this, he gives the player the Shard of Erebus, which is, what else do we use these shards for, right? We obviously are going to use them to just, stick in our book and use it as a bookmark. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to use that to protect ourselves when the Elder God Wars dungeon drops.
Or sometimes we like to put them inside us.
Oh.
Really,
do not recommend that with this one. I don't think that's safe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's apparently very cold to the touch.
No.
So, I mean, cold to the touch that your player can barely pick it up. Yeah, they said it was cold to the touch. What?
God.
I don't get what happened there, but nonetheless, did the
Oh my God.
I honestly have no idea what's happening here, folks. But so I'm just going to ask: did the discussion between Ali and Trindine bounce off the wall for anyone as being important? It seemed kind of bland.
Sorry,
I don't actually remember what happened there. So.
What did you make of the discussion between Ali and Trindine? It just seemed to kind of come in and go out.
There was something about Trindine having been basically working behind the scenes, and that got me suspicious, because what the hell is she up to if it's not Zaros stuff, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Inquisition.
Ooh.
We'll talk more about that after, but that actually did come into my mind when she said that, and at this point, I'm going to play the cutscene from this week's, because, we've done it 4 weeks in a row. Let's do it again this week. So here we go.
It is too late. The invaders may have been defeated, but the foul power that seeped from the gateway has already done its work. The elder god eggs, imperiled by the poison, are hatching. The young within will feast on our world. Now, the worst is upon us.
So that's what they've meant by the worst is yet to come each and every week.
Yeah, I think this pretty much qualifies as the worst.
Mm-hmm. And, this is something that had been alluded to for a long time, even going back to Azzanadra's quest itself. And we thought that this was the way things were going to go, potentially even after Sliske's endgame. And, I mean, there's a whole boatload of meta discussion that can happen on that about how things were orchestrated, even going back not only to Sliske's endgame, but going back to the World Awakes, too, in terms of, was this the thing that Jazz, through the agent of Sliske, wanted to set in motion? But, I feel that worthy's a full discussion, maybe after this quest, or maybe that could even be a monthly bit as well at some point if the listeners are interested in that, because I think that's something we could dedicate probably a full Lore Diggers episode to if we wanted to.
Easily.
With that. So, after this, you're basically sent northward to the new dig that's been happening, and this is that big door that we talked about a few weeks ago with the huge Zarosian symbol on it, which I think we all know, or all knew what that was going to be coming in. So if there's no further objections, we'll jump right into City of Senntisten right now.
Mm-hmm.
So are we...
Go ahead.
Just... You mentioned earlier the weird short dialogue with Sir Owen.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up, but we can address that.
Thing.
Yeah,
I feel like we need to mention it, but
I don't want to take too much time on it, because this is yet another thing that we could probably spend about an hour or so debating of whether or not this was something that should have been done, or if this is just, the modern RuneScape narrative storytelling. Because for anybody who is wondering what this is about, if you talk to Sir Owen after you complete the mini quest and you have the shard, Sir Owen is the one who will give the shard back to you if you lose it. But your character also has the option to say something like, oh, yeah, weren't we going to go on a quest together? And this is, of course, talking about what would have been Death of Chivalry 2, because in the dev live stream talking about Azzanadra's quest, they said, yeah, this quest canonically takes place after what would have been Death of Chivalry 2.
And I think that's really all we need to say.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if we want to go through this, we can, and we can kind of say what happened on that quest, because there was a full itemized list of ding, down, and down we go. But I think that's out of the scope of Battle of the Monolith, and definitely out of the scope of City of Senntisten, and it's just that nice little lore nugget there for anybody who wants to pick something like that up.
There's been a lot of discussion about what was in there and the way it was done, but that can be for another time, eh?
Yeah, of course. And, you know, with that, we are in an era where the quests that come out are seemingly being designed in this day and age to move the storyline a lot quicker than we've ever seen it move before, so much so that at the start of this year, the Elder God War was on the horizon, and now we're in the thick of it. And, you know, that brings us directly to City of Senntisten, which is something...
Oh, really? Just this calendar year?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. First teaser, you could say, was actually Azzanadra's quest.
True.
And we kind of knew that things were going to be coming with the release of Archaeology, because the Archaeology slogan was "Dig Deep, War is Coming." But, you know, at that time, nobody really knew what that was referring to. But lo and behold, here we are. And this is why we obviously need to dig deep to excavate the City of Senntisten. And this is something that, you know, if you go back to it, we got our first rumblings of it in the dig site quest. The first official mention of it was in Desert Treasure when we unlocked those teleports, specifically the teleport that went to Senntisten, which took you to right outside the exam center. Now it takes you to the empty throne room. But the official description on this quest is that you can uncover the mysteries of the rock dig site and descend into the shadowy depths of Senntisten, the lost capital of the Zerosian Empire. But be wary, adventurer. City of Senntisten represents your last chance to bolster your defenses and weaken the Elder Gods before they launch a full assault on Gielinor, and danger lurks in every shadow. And that's a very key word there. Danger lurks in every shadow.
What did they mean by this?
Right. And, you know, what else have we been talking about in the past that deals with shadow, right?
Who's to say?
Yeah, exactly. I like summing things up in this day and age with who's to say. That's a perfect way of summing that up. And to start off with this quest, you talk to Ariane, who is standing outside the heart. And from this point on, obligatory spoiler warnings for this episode. We're not going to lift the spoiler veil until the end of it, because we do have some questions bouncing in and out of this. But the heart of Gielinor, we learned in Azzanadra's quest, was where the Elder Halls of this world are located. And we knew from some early Elder God War or Elder God promotional material that when they lay eggs, they lay them in the heart of the world. And people were wondering before Azzanadra's, where would the eggs be? But lo and behold, they were here in the heart. And, you know, what do you guys think of Ariane appearing?
It's very sudden. It's like there's no real reason for us to be here in particular.
They're just using her for this. But not only
I mean, I don't object to. It just seemed kind of odd to me.
Yeah.
Very abrupt.
But it didn't seem... It's not to say it seemed out of place.
No. Remember,
like, I think it was a good fit. I was like, oh, okay, she's here now.
Yeah. And also along with her is Charos, because she contacted Reldo of the Varrock Museum because of his research on Elder Gods. And, you know, obviously last time we saw Charos at the end of Desperate Measures, he was with Thok. And Thok won't be here for this quest because, you know, I think dealing with Elder Gods is perhaps a little bit out of scope of what Thok would be able to handle.
Actually, I think Thok isn't in this quest because we all know he would deal with the Elder God threat immediately by headbutting them. And there we go. It'll be solved.
Yeah, there you go. That's why you can't have that. And, they've all dealt with the question of anima in the past, and Reldo in particular, Charos, has had experience with that. And Ariane and Charos were actually discussing this when you take the pulley down into the heart of the Elder Halls. And, they're presented with a number of options about what exactly you can do with these Elder God eggs. And it's revealed that there are two issues with this. First, you need to stop the eggs from actually hatching. And secondly, you need to prevent the current Elder Gods from touching them. We didn't really know about that second bit, did we? That the Elder Gods effectively had to touch the eggs to activate them.
I think that was made clear in Azzanadra's quest with the cutscenes there.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, this is where I start having questions.
All right.
So when they touch the eggs and they wake up and they're going to feast on all of the anima of the world and
destroy
all of
the
the
world.
worlds.
Yeah.
What happens to the original Elder Gods?
True, because they were saying in Azzanadra's quest that they transfer the memories, but then are there just these big old Elder God husks around? Because Frenescae sure doesn't have any, apart from the one that is Mar, but she was one of the new gods.
Yeah, and she was effectively stillborn and could have came to Gila, but didn't. And
there's no sign of what was before the ones we got now.
Well, presumably when the Elder Gods hatch, they'll devour everything, including the
cannibalism.
matter of the Elder Gods. That's the way I'm interpreting this. But
okay, that works.
Hopefully we don't need to get to that point to see what happens with that. And it's at this point I actually want to share the cutscene that came from this one, because this was I think the only visual cutscene that we had in this quest, wasn't it? Here down in the heart. And I have a question for you guys before we look at this cutscene. When you came into this quest, did you think that we were going to have an immediate solution to it, and that this discussion here would put us on a path to that? And keep this in mind as we go forward.
Is that to answer now, or?
Well, no, I'm just wondering, just a quick yes or no, did you think that we'd actually come up with a solution in this quest that would work?
Oh, I had no idea.
All right. Fair enough.
Same, blindsided.
I come in knowing nothing and enjoy it.
Fair enough. And let's hear that cutscene now then.
Touch the eggs to hatch them correctly. If they make a direct assault, their young could be destroyed. If they cannot attack themselves, they will send forces both martial and magical. We cannot know who, but they will be powerful. We need a defensible location. We must gather the gods. They can drain the eggs to keep them from hatching. It falls to their followers to hold off whatever is coming. The battle to come will be apocalyptic. The world is at stake. We must keep the fight away from the common people. My agents recently uncovered a location which is both fortified and remote. A place I know well. The City of Senntisten.
Dun, 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 and there we go. Obviously, that's where we want to go for the rest of this quest. And, you're probably wondering, what is he going on about? And you, Ariane...
And that was
Azzanadra. Azzanadra. Okay. You, Ariane, Charos, and Azzanadra have a discussion. This is before the cutscene plays, but that's fine. About what you can do to try and prevent the Elder God apocalypse from happening. Let's just call it this.
There's some prime idiot World Guardian dialogue here. Like, Ariane and Karos say, we can't have it near to a city or in the open, and you can immediately suggest, how about we have it near a city? How about we have it out in the open?
Yeah. I actually also caught some really funny things with this because I don't know if this was intended by the authors, but one of the options is to destroy the eggs, which, they say, hey, that's possible but not advisable. I go back to the Azzanadra's quest time when Ariane destroyed those statues and huffed in their vapor. They talk about draining the eggs. Then they talk about hiding the eggs. And the first thing that initially came up in my memory with this for me was that we hid an egg before. We hid the Stone of Jazz in Ritual of the Majorat.
Ah, yes.
We can, of course, fight the Elder Gods, which your player says is a silly idea. So really the only things you could do is move the eggs.
I think they actually referenced while Guffix sleeps with the egg hiding, where you can actually suggest moving it to a random location, which is exactly what we did.
That's exactly what we did in Ritual of the Majorat.
And they laugh at it.
Yep.
And they say it could be transported to your worst enemy or something.
What if it landed in the middle of the sun?
Oh no.
That would be bad. That would be bad.
Wouldn't that solve all of the problems?
I mean, the Elder Gods wouldn't be happy.
The energy's got to go somewhere.
True.
Into a star.
Ooh.
Your energy.
Ooh, who knew that this would be RuneScape's own version of nuclear fusion? Sorry.
Star goes supernova. It's fine. We didn't need that star anyway.
So the choice of moving and draining the eggs makes sense with this, and with this you need to, of course, gather some gods to help drain the eggs because, these gods would love to siphon some Elder God energy and juice themselves up. Zamorak is still lacking after
You'd
World
never
Event
say
1.
Juice again.
Why not?
I just really hated the way that you said that.
All right, fair enough.
Sorry, I just very visceral reaction to that.
And you need to move the eggs because there's too much anima flow around the heart. So hence why City of Senntisten is chosen, and we are warned that moving these you will still draw the attention of the elders. Now, this is where things get really interesting for me, because following from this, Azzanadra pulls you aside and says that he wants to have a word with you in private. But he wants to have a word with you in private, not at the heart. He calls you to meet up at the Archaeology Guild, and he's in his human form, Dr. Nabanek. Now, with this, he highlights, of course, that we've worked together in the past. He understands that he has betrayed our trust. And this is going to be a key point as we move through this. He is admitting that in the past, him and other Zarosian forces have betrayed our trust. But now, apparently, he wants to gain it back. And I think this is really interesting because is this the beginning of a new relationship with the Majorat and the followers of Zaros on Gielinor? That, in effect, Azzanadra is taking over the mantle in Zaros' absence?
I think the faction has definitely been changed beyond what it used to.
Split.
Yeah, Nex is not on that side anymore.
No.
She's on whatever side gets Char back, and that's her own side.
I thought he was going to hit us up for money, because that's what, gods always need money. So.
But they're not Ferengi.
I met a guy. I was downtown one night, and he said he was
I can only imagine.
I got a job offer for the CIA from the next guy. So,
wow!
Nice.
But anyway,
you think the relationship's going to change?
I recall telling you, because I did Azzanadra's quest basically back to back.
Right.
I I remember in my running commentary to you, I think one of the first things I said, Azzanadra is having a crisis of loyalty. And I think he very much is now, because he recognizes that Saros wanted him to do something that went against every fiber of his being, which was betraying us.
Yeah. And, there'll be more of this to come out as we go through the quest in terms of later dialogue. But in some ways, this version of Azzanadra seems more humble. And we also need to remember that this is one of the first gods out there to, in effect, not intend to ascend when he did in the events of Battle of the Monolith. So that might play a role, too.
It was almost, brushed over.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Well, it's a bit of a slow burn. We're getting the consequences in a long format.
Yeah, and they were very clear that ascension is not an easy feat, and it's actually given Azzanadra a lot to think about. And with this, he makes it just so clear that this is his whole thing of regaining trust back. And I don't know if this popped into your mind there, Earth, but did he at all at any point in this quest remind you about a certain Cardassian on Star Trek Deep Space Nine?
No.
Oh.
No? Okay. Fair enough.
Because he always said what he meant and never spoke in riddles. Unless you meant Gul Dukat.
Yeah, I did mean Gul Dukat.
Yeah, it's repeatedly.
Gul Dukat did nothing wrong.
Oh, God.
I love that reference whenever that comes up.
He did nothing wrong. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a wonderful character. Wonderful character.
Best dad in the universe.
But you think that Azzanadra is like that?
Yeah, it kind of sounds as though he's trying to make it seem as though, think mid-character arc for Gul Dukat. He's kind of trying to make it seem as though, okay, I'm sucking up to you, things are going to get better and whatnot.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. So logically, then, that this is all likely a charade then, but we'll address that as we...
I don't think it is.
All right. So after your discussion with Azzanadra, he sends you off to go gather up the gods because, you got to figure out who wants to feast on some of that elder energy. In particular, he sends you to talk to Saren, Saradomin, Armadil, Zamorak, and Iclaran. Did this list surprise anyone?
Are there any particularly notable absences, really?
I don't think so. I mean, you got most of the major power players here.
Yeah, Iclaran strikes me as someone who's maybe not so much as a power player. It's surprising because he's really been out of the limelight.
Yeah, I want to talk about him specifically. I do have a section for him after, but starting with, I'm going to start with the most powerful, and that is, of course, Saren. You go talk to her in the Berthorpe council room, and she initially resists helping you because she sees it as only helping a Majrad, somebody who is aligned to her brother as she sees it. And with that, she says that, perhaps this is something that will inevitably come back to bite us, but after your character goes through the options and explains everything to her and explains that it is indeed our plan, part of the World Guardian's plan, and not just Azzanadra's plan, and that Azzanadra actually wants to help, Saren admits that she has little choice because obviously her counsel has not been successful.
See, the council bothered me a lot. Because she knew that was going on. Why'd she keep it going?
In absence of anything better, I guess.
And plus, I mean, when you form something like that, it's kind of like, okay, you got all these minds here. Maybe something will, stick out and will ultimately result in a solution.
And sort of, how do you disband something like that?
Just want what she wants.
Yeah. And that's her aura that she doesn't have control over.
Yeah, how do you disband something like that without just admitting to a lot of the world's major leaders that, sorry, all is lost. We don't have anything.
I mean...
You just do it. Pull the Band-Aid off.
But that's going to end well.
But Ichlarin's also up here. And this is somebody who warrants a bit of discussion here, because straight off the bat, Ichlarin will not help us. He's adamant that he won't work with a Majorat, and that they can't be trusted. They'll betray us exactly when the time is right. And he also points out that being a lower god, he doesn't really have as much power as the other ones, and he has no specific following. So he really doesn't see this as something that he can do in order, or he doesn't see anything here that he can do to actually help the situation.
Yeah, well,
he was a bit of a...
He's a bro.
Yeah, and I'm wondering why would they write him in to have this discussion here?
we've got a bit of a Chekhov's gun here. He's going to come off in the third act.
Yeah. Also,
he did make it very clear that in the past he had wandered the universe to find a solution to the problem, and he's going to do that now.
What was that?
I don't know.
That was the Majorat.
Oh.
Because he brought him here in the first place.
That's right. So, I mean, and I also think it acts as a foil to people who, well, I guess nobody really trusts Azzanadra, but just for someone who, is it a fair statement? Ichlarin is, like, fairly well liked and trusted by everyone.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have, you know, like Zamorak or Saradomin not like Azzanadra, but acting as a foil.
So you're saying he's going to
be
be
hey, you need to watch out.
Right.
This guy's not good.
And he could potentially fill the role of honest broker.
I'm sorry?
He could fill the role of honest broker?
Honest broker.
Yeah. Like that.
Shane, you're not talking our language
here.
here.
What you mean by that?
Like that person in the middle who will be the negotiator.
Okay.
Help both sides see what exactly is going on.
He's put down a pretty hard line on not working with Azzanadra, though. So
yeah.
I think he's sort of more outside than really going to be able to.
Right, but if he can present the solution that nobody has seen yet, when what we're doing inevitably fails, that kind of makes sense, because we know that we have 4 months of Elder God Wars coming up next.
Mm-hmm.
So,
did you see the meme of this?
I did not.
Oh man, I'm posting it in the RSBANDB Discord now. It's just Ichlarin. It's a Lord of the Rings scene. Ichlarin coming back as Gandalf the White, and then there's Marimbo, Ping and Pong, Easter Bunny, Queen of Snow,
Mecha Gothics,
and then just an army
Could
of
you
Genies
imagine?
in the last one.
You know, that'll be an excuse to get Draz on the show if Brassica Prime ends up resolving this whole thing.
Hold on, wasn't a really stupid picture of a Gobi my avatar for a while?
Yes.
You will save the world personally.
Forgot how stupid it was.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But in any case, there are other people.
Oh, I gotta find that picture.
There are other people to talk to. Zamorak can be found in his hideout underneath Daemonheim. And to get to Zamorak in this quest, it turns out that you can't actually use the communications device. You have to talk with Moyan here.
That really threw me off.
Annoyed me, because I did that on purpose, because I was like, oh, there's another way, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, they were suggesting that other way actively, and it's like, oh, there isn't one. Okay, why'd you say that?
There and it didn't work.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this discussion with Zamorak, I have to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like there's been more going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, he's so off the bat, he says that, you know, there's way more going on than that we, even the World Guardian, see. He tells us that he was away during Battle of the Monolith to quell an uprising of Zerosian loyalists on Infernus, and that's why he wasn't there to take part in it. And he feels that it was a ploy by Zaros to keep him actually out of the battle, which makes sense. You normally, you know, that's the way Zaros would do something like that. You set up a thing that your arch enemy would have to go and, or arch rival would have to go and deal with. I think enemy's too strong of a word there for that. But he also says that he doesn't want to start a new war at this time. And he points back to his betrayal of Zaros. And he is very frank, and he says, yeah, that's how it is. But at this time, he doesn't want the other gods to gain power without him gaining power. So he's in. And this is I don't know if this is a departure, if this is in character for him, but I really liked it. It feels as though that, yes, there can be time. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. That, yes, there can be time for setting up, chaos to, in effect, prevent stagnation, as we learned is his true purpose, which was misrepresented for so long. But at the same time, he's just able to set all that aside and realize that there's bigger fish to fry. And I really enjoyed this discussion with him, and it gave me a new respect for him.
What he's saying here, I'm looking at the transcript, is, I know the value of this world, and I do not wish to see it destroyed. And it's like, fair enough. It's kind of where we keep all our stuff, after all. Yeah. There's a lot going on here, and fair enough, not losing that, no matter what else he has going on, eh? Yeah,
so... and I've always liked Zamorak.
Yeah, so. I remember when we discussed that on Dishonor Among Thieves with you, I disagreed with you in that, but I'm actually, really starting to like his character. So there's that. Next, I went to talk to Armadillo, who was in his tower.
Can I just quickly say, do you see what happens if you ask him to help you out of there?
I don't remember what that was, or what the answer was.
No, I left on my own because I'm stubborn.
Oh, man. So he asks, can you see yourself out? And if you choose the option that's help, and he says, how you became World Guardian escapes me. You'll be wanting me to wipe your backside clean next. Be gone. And he teleports you out of there, like north of the Demonheim Castle.
Amazing.
Into the wilderness?
No.
Or
not quite. Yeah, just that little island peninsula thing.
Oh, power move.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going in the order that I went when I talked about them, but next up is Armadillo. He's in his tower, and you tell him what's going on, and he's in immediately. No questions asked.
Yep.
He trusts us in our judgment, he says, and wants to make up for his absence in recent affairs. He also says he's uncomfortable with Saren's growing influence on the council, and Armadillo, he said, also took some time to recently visit his people on Abana. In his own words, to start preparing for the worst, should it happen. And I have a question with this. At the start of Battle of the Monolith, weren't we told that he was on Tardiad?
Yeah, and that was mentioned in the Yak track too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure if it's an inconsistency or if it's just both.
Where was he?
Tardiad, the Elven homeworld.
Yeah, so he was helping
Armadillo?
look after... Yeah, that's been a thing discussed since Endgame. So, like, in Endgame, he met up with Saren briefly, had a chat about, I can send the Avianti to Tardiad, and they can help out the poor addicted shapeshifter elves there, and we can maybe work something out, because my birds need a place to live, and your old elves need someone looking after them, and we can make this work.
Wow, I don't remember that at all. Okay.
Oh, man. It's one of those things that only shows up if you got Saren in a certain state or whatever. I didn't get it, but it's a thing.
Yeah. And it made its way into Battle of the Monolith, so I was just wondering about that, and I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I don't know why it can't be both. I also think if that's also been happening, then, direct experience with Saren's, addicted, afflicted shapeshifter elves is probably not going to raise his trust in Saren's best judgment here.
Yeah. But, he's in. No questions asked. And I don't know what it was, but in the two discussions I had back-to-back with Armadillo and Zamorak, I really enjoyed those two discussions. They both
it
moved
was
up.
just a row.
They just moved up a rung in terms of who I like. Let's just say.
Your god tier list.
Yeah, my own god tier list. But anyways, I saved Saradomin for last, and he is, of course, in Falador Castle, crownless still after Azzanadra's quest. And when we go there, we tell him the plan as we've been telling the plan for the entirety of this quest. And I should note that throughout all this, definitely at the Saradomin part, and I don't think it was anywhere talking to any of the other gods, but also back in the heart, the shadow voices are here.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be important. I want to save them for later when we get to a certain puzzle, because I think it all starts to come together at that point. But Saradomin admits that the plan that we've put together is the best we can hope for, and he says he won't work with Zerosian zealots, and that's what he called the Zerosian forces. And our character makes the pitch again.
Zerosian what?
Zealots.
I was thinking, is that seriously how you pronounce that word?
It sure is.
That's how I pronounce that word, yes.
Wow.
So for everyone in the real world, he means zealot.
Yes. This is the Shane translation button.
I had forgotten that was how you said the word zealot, Shane.
Yeah, that's why it's just easier when you're playing StarCraft to say charge lot. But anyways, we make the pitch to Saradomin that even though he wants nothing to do with this battle, and I think he seems the most resistive out of anyone, we make the pitch again that Zaros is gone, even Azzanadra wants to help, and this is our plan. Saradomin says that he trusts us, that we personally did not have anything directly to do with the theft of his crown in Azzanadra's quest, and he makes a very key note that us as the characters been too willing to work with Zerosians. Our judgment is poor, but as a god of his word, he will do what he must to defend the people of Gielinor. And it's not like we had a choice to work with Zerosians, did we?
Yeah.
For Saradomin there.
Say again?
That gave me mad respect for Saradomin there.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it?
Put aside our differences.
Well, that's the same reason that I wasn't mad at Azzanadra, because loyalty.
And it makes him a very traditional god, too, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
In that regard, that he's willing to, just put all this aside and help us with what we need to do. But there we have it. There we have our four: Saren, Saradomin, Armadil, and Zamorak. The only ones missing, of course, are the dead ones, Gothics and Bandos. But that's all happened in the past. So at this point, you head back to the Archaeology Guild and talk with the human form of Azzanadra, Dr. Nabanik. And he says that, they're starting to excavate Senntisten just directly north of here, and we should make our way over there. And this is, I think, what everybody's been waiting for, going back years to finally get into the city. I know we got a glimpse of it at the Temple of Senntisten quest, but lo and behold, it's here. The moment is here. We're finally going to head over there, and we're going to have a look and see what's there inside this city. What were you guys thinking at this point when we walked over there?
Literally nothing.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, I kind of thought it had been destroyed, and all that we had was that temple. I never really thought about there being more.
Yeah, it was buried over. And from the understanding of all this, it also seems that Caradet is part of the city as well.
No, I don't. I think that was basically the opposite of, because there was a lore book later in that actually suggests there's actually quite a long trek between Caradet and Senntisten itself.
Oh.
It's the whole theory that, the game world is shrunk.
Scale theory!
Yeah, because I think in, the books, it says that there's days travel between Falador and Varrock.
I think it was 4 or 5 days between Falador and Varrock, you're right.
Yeah, and I mean, kingdoms.
Yeah.
Those aren't really kingdoms. They're like 5 houses.
Yeah. Naturally, Varrock is more than a couple dozen houses squished together.
And
I wouldn't even say it's that many.
No. Anyways, you open the door, and lo and behold, there we are. We're in the city of Senntisten, and you have to work your archaeology skill and excavate a barrier.
Wow.
Plenty of ours got an archaeology pet from this.
Staring at you the whole time.
Oh, God!
Like, I took a great screenshot. Let me find it.
Yeah, he really is just kind of staring at you, isn't he?
No, he absolutely is.
And, I thought that this would have went quicker because it's a quest and all, but we were here for, a good 3 or 4 minutes, it felt like.
Yeah. It's like, it feels like the Caradet mystery, the initial one, Breaking the Seal.
Yeah.
Where you just excavate that entrance to open. That also took about a relatively equivalent length of time. Maybe they just reused the code or something, but kind of
the same energy.
Yeah. I guess you do sort of get to pan around with your camera looking at the city that you can't actually enter yet.
Which everybody should do.
Oh, yeah. It's quite something.
I don't know if you noticed this, but if you pan around the camera to look through the glass, you can actually see that these are actual glass textures now. And you can see Azzanadra through it. You can, of course, see your character from it for the character outlining, but you can see Azzanadra through it. And I think this is... I don't know if they've done glass like this before.
They have once. I think that was actually Caradet. There's a little chapel with the Orcus chapel where you can see him through it.
Yeah.
Stained glass window.
It's just such a view from this point. With that, you excavate the barrier, and after that, a Pontifex Maximus figurine is needed to actually bring down the magical barrier that allows you to go in. But before we do that, I think I'll just play a bit of a brief sample of the musical track that you're presented with during this quest. Just a tiny bit of it here, because once again, people who don't play RS with their music on in this day and age are truly missing out.
Absolutely.
I feel like this one, there's such a ancient and mysterious vibe to this
Absolutely.
It's the cherry on top.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's something... I'm going ahead a little bit, but it's the only other music track in this quest. That when you immediately walk into the cathedral, there is a very similar but slightly different music track that starts up, and I think the transition between the two of them is actually rather seamless.
Yeah, it is. I actually didn't notice it until I looked at the music unlock list.
Mm-hmm. And I love it when music tracks do that. They incorporate new elements to signify a change of location or whatever, but don't actually change the flow of the music itself.
Yeah. So to bring the barrier down, you get that Pontifex Maximus figurine. Azzanadra will give it to you. And if you don't have the materials necessary, I actually went to go and excavate my own materials for this. It turns out that intern Jimmy will actually give you the materials to restore that.
Thanks, Jimmy.
They said... Shame.
Yeah, I missed that.
Ass.
But
what
that's
were you doing? Space barring?
No, of course not. Don't you bring that on me.
Okay. Accusation retracted.
Character.
Intern Jimmy.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
They're going to have some fun with that guy.
Yeah.
They better. Or maybe they'll... Or maybe they'll just have him be eaten by something.
This one bedraggled intern just standing outside.
Maserati.
The one entrance for all these opposing forces, and there's this one bedraggled intern right there.
Right?
Yeah, that's perfect. It's perfect.
How are you enjoying your internship?
It's pretty good.
He seems like he's going to be a red shirt, but nonetheless. After the barrier's down, we go to the cathedral with Azzanadra. As we make that walk through the city, he shares some of the history of it, and this is something you definitely want to keep your eyes open at, because this history is going to be important when it comes to what you actually need to do during the quest. He mentions various key landmarks that exist inside Senntisten, including the Avernick Arsenal, the Blood Bank, and the Inquisition Office. And this is, of course, where we need to go later in the quest to find our wards.
Mm-hmm. So did you catch that he was voice acted here?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird bit of voice acting. I think it was proximity-based in that you had to stick rather close to him in order to actually hear it.
Yeah, and I mean, they can do that because they obviously got a voice actor for his cutscenes, so you have some of this dialogue that's really not going to change, and it's just providing the lay of the land. So I think that's something that can be voice acted. Too bad for Tanis that there isn't more of it.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of awkwardly done in that you kind of have to keep up with him, keep clicking on him, and your character's animation is just dancing all over him while he's leisurely walking forward. I think I'd have appreciated it more if it was something like a force walk where your character was moved to follow him rather than you having to awkwardly keep up yourself.
Yeah, because then otherwise you're reliant on the reading, and if you miss any of that voice dialogue, oops.
Well.
So, inside the cathedral, we're told that this is where we're going to fortify and defend Gielinor as we know it. And everybody can, I think, at this point assume that what this means is that this is going to be our central hub for the upcoming Elder God War dungeon, just like we have the center bit at the heart. Following from this, I think...
Oh,
go ahead.
Funnily enough, the eggs are at both of them. So God Wars Dungeon 2, that's where the eggs are.
Oh, yeah.
And God Wars Dungeon here, yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because at this point, after we get the briefing on the cathedral, Azzanadra teleports the eggs in from the hearth.
It's a gorgeous animation there.
Yeah, it really is. I was looking at the Mod Sponge Twitter on this, and he said that it actually took quite a bit of work to get the eggs to come in seamlessly.
That's one of those things that really is worth it. It's like, it feels like it's such a game changer. Like, we have done something immense here, and now we deal with the consequences.
Yeah, and I guess when you're transferring that amount of eggs, you could kind of just say that, oh, maybe we should be careful that we're moving them, and perhaps something bad would happen to it. But we were able to move them with relative ease here on this. So these are the eggs for Full, Wen, and Bick. Obviously, the egg, Jazz's egg was Stone of Jazz. Ma didn't have an egg, or did, but it was stillborn on Freneske. Or she was stillborn and didn't have an egg. So we only got 3 to worry about here, but still a pretty big deal on that. The rest of the quest at this point is setting up defenses, and Azzanadra says that one of the other defenses that can be used are wards, and these are found outside in the western sector of the city. And he says that these wards function exactly like the diamonds did that trapped him in the pyramid that we dealt with in Desert Treasure, except in reverse, designed to keep the Elder Gods out. And the first ward that we find is directly out the western stairs and immediately in one of the first buildings there, and that's the Ice Ward. That's the easiest one to find, of course.
A little tutorial.
Yeah, a little tutorial on how to find him, bring him back. Avoid the shadows that are going to hurt you throughout the entirety of the quest. The shadows, if they manage to kill you, are a safe death. You respawn back in the cathedral.
Yeah, there's no indicator of that.
No, there's not.
I found out by dying.
Yeah. And it's rather annoying when you die, so I still brought food, nonetheless.
Wait, you
Yeah.
found out what by dying?
I found out that you respawn as a safe death in the cathedral, and I found that out by dying, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. When you bring back the Ice Ward, Saren will appear. Azzanadra and Saren have a discussion, and he does this with each of the gods that appear. And their discussion was quite interesting. It was about the ritual of rejuvenation, and he says that he's come to understand that Saren's did this from her own point of view and actually thanks her. And he says that we may be few in number, but we are stronger now than ever and have endured. Without your intervention, we would not have. Regardless of your own feelings on the matter, I just wanted you to know that I no longer hold any grudge with you. I trust your intentions then and now.
This is bringing up major red flags for me.
Yeah, because it's a complete turn of character for what the Majrat felt with Saren. But at the same time, there might be that kernel of doubt in your head that says maybe Azzanadra's actually telling the truth because of Ascension and just everything that's currently going on.
It sort of feels to me like if any Majra would do this, it might just be Azzy, because he's the sort of person who has rationalized Zaros' actions for years and years and years, and I guess he can do so to Zaros' sibling as well. But what's really raising major red flags for me is also Saren's reaction, because at the time of Children of Mars, he was all screamy and can't handle the consequences of her own actions. But now she's all unapologetic. I will not apologize for what I did to you. And that's really making me think, like, it feels almost like a parallel. What was it?
Saren is the one who's making me worry the most.
Yeah, it feels like a parallel. What Azzanadra says is it's worth all the destruction you caused in our race because we got to survive and we got to reproduce. And that's essentially the same thing that's on the table with the Elder Gods here. It's their survival and it's their reproduction. And since she's all, none shall more fiercely protect these eggs from harm than I.
You think she's a double agent?
Well, what if we do end up having to destroy these eggs? Because at the moment we're really just holding the threat off.
And this just really sums up what I feel is going to happen at the end of this. Zaros is going to wind up dead somehow. Saren will shatter herself, and these gods will be depowered in some way.
Yeah, because I'm not sure there is a way in which these Elder Gods get defeated and Saren also does not end up as a casualty of that somehow.
Exactly. Yeah. You're 100% right in that. Okay. Next ward is the Smoke Ward. But before that, you do pick up some light orbs from some of the chests inside the church, and you can fill these in at various points throughout the city. And if you stand in the light, you will take less damage from the shadow creatures that are attacking you. So just keep that in mind, that you can stand in the light and you won't have as hard of a time. But the next ward being the Smoke Ward, this one's found just south of the Ice Ward in the Avernic arsenal that Azzanadra mentioned. And when you try and grab this ward, you'll see that there are 3 gargoyles defending it, but in order to actually get the ward, you have to go defeat the 3 gargoyles, and they scatter out throughout the entire city. So this is a bit of a jaunt, but these are, effectively, I think, 3 easy-to-kill gargoyles that are magic-based.
Unless you're wandering out into the street.
What was that?
You said you had trouble with it, Shane.
Not the fight.
You're like, yeah, it was really difficult having all these people shooting at me along with the...
Oh, yeah, one of them I did. You're right. You're right. I did.
Did you just lure them?
Yeah, tag them and immediately run back.
No, I fought them right in the shadows.
Okay, stubbornness, I guess.
But hey, I only died once.
Only once. I do love the format of the quest at this point. It's very open.
Yeah, it's very traditional.
It felt like a return, but we can talk more about that at the end.
Yeah, we need to talk more about that in the end. 2 of the gargoyles are in the southern portion. 1 is in the north. You kill them, and that'll deactivate the shield protecting that ward. Bring the ward back, and who appears next is Sarah Doman. I wasn't sure who was going to appear next. I thought it might have been Armadillo that would have appeared next in this one. But when Sarah Doman appears, he suspects that this whole thing is being a maneuver and stalling by Azzanadra to actually help Zaros. But instead cautions that expecting Zaros to appear, rather, and save the day would be false hope. And he's telling this to Azzanadra, but he also says that Zaros had actually never cared for this world. Sarah Doman expects Azzanadra to reply with some form of bilious piety from a false god, because you recall numerous times that as a follower of Zaros, Azzanadra has called the likes of Zamorak and Sarah Doman false gods. But once again, Sarah Doman is surprised here at what Azzanadra has to say. And he also reminds Azzanadra that it was Zamorak, the last Majorat to ascend by betraying Zaros, that started the last God War, and that he will be watching what he gets up to very closely.
Honestly, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything that really raised any eyebrows here compared to what Saren had to say.
But it's definitely interesting to bring back into the limelight the fact that Azzanadra has demonstrated such very specific ideas on godhood and what it means, and now he gets to live them for himself.
And I bet he didn't anticipate that and being able to do such a thing.
Surprise.
All right. Next ward is a Shadow Ward. I think we all could appreciate where this one goes.
Oh, yeah.
This one is found in the northern tip of the city, the western sector, rather, inside the Inquisition office.
Really? This one was, I actually found the gargoyle one last. It was like, that was the shadow one, right? Or
gargoyle with smoke.
One with a
smoke one. Okay.
This
never
one is
mind.
shadow. So you go in this building, and as soon as you head into the building, you hear that laugh, the Sliske laugh.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, and we learned that this office was Sliske's office. At least that's what I took from it.
Yeah, it was.
The shadow and light voices perk up heavily at this point in the quest. The shadow voice calls the laugh beautiful singing, while the light voice says that it's filled with joy by the laughter.
So the beautiful singing thing, that's exactly what they were saying when Grigorovich turned up in Azzanadra's quest.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And once you go upstairs, there is a certain mask on a shelf and a certain shadow glaive propped up against the desk.
Oh, crap, I missed that.
Well, there you go.
Whose mask are we saying that is, then?
Too.
That's Grigorovich's mask. It is.
So is this
his
Grigorovich's office instead of Sliske's?
I don't think Greg existed back then. I think he's decidedly way past this point.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure exactly. God Wars 2 lore is a bit slapdash. But, yeah, if you examine the mask, I think it says something along...
ill human in the Fourth Age.
Okay, yeah, way past this. Okay, but yeah, if you examine the mask on the shelf, I think it says something along the lines of, it's less covered with dust than anything here. So, I guess Greg might have been poking around or something. But I honestly wonder if that's maybe a bit of an obvious red herring, because why would he leave his mask and glaive behind?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's big questions there, huh?
Yeah, you're right, because before actually going up the stairs for the first time, we hear a strange noise that the shadow voice in your head called somebody making a quick escape.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obviously not Sliske. We need to be clear with that he's non-corporeal this time.
How do you know?
And that's my next question. You are reading ahead, and you are doing exactly what a podcast host should do.
Shane, but you didn't really...
Because the next question is, Sliske is not really dead, is he?
He's living inside you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So was that voice...
that for years.
Was that voice, or was that noise we heard leaving Sliske, or was that Greg?
I've been wondering if it might be Trendine, perhaps, because it really sounded like the noise sounded like someone escaping to the Shadow Realm, and she has been sneaking around doing her own thing. But also the singing thing seems to suggest Greg.
Yeah.
All right, so we got 3 possibilities there then.
Woohey!
But we also inside that room find the Book of Inquisition profiles. The book, of course, details 3 people the Inquisition is keeping an eye on: Titus the Shadow Warrior, Dagrada the Priest Queen, and Castix and Greedy the Split Soul. And it says that these Inquisition profiles are people that either need to effectively be made to disappear or just people that the Inquisition are currently interested in.
Yeah, it's interesting because 2 of these are existing characters, and they kind of pretty much pinpoint what was going on at this very specific time. Because you've got Titus Damus, who is in fact a character from Desert Treasure. Yep. He is the Shadow Warrior, and he actually got some lore with Caradette.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't make that connection.
There we go. And so if you read what he's got in the lore book here, it's following directly on from his Caradette lore, which is he was sent to transport the Shadow Diamond, and now he's here. He's made it all the way up to Senntisten, and he's pretty angry and kind of shadow warped a fair bit. And yeah, Sliske has plans to set his anger up against Azzanadra, who he feels has abandoned him. And yeah, I think that leads pretty clearly onward to Damus being one of the people involved in imprisoning Azzanadra in Desert Treasure. Well, for Desert Treasure anyway.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And once again, I feel like we could do a complete Lord Digger's deep dive all the way from Desert Treasure through all the other quests, Caradette up to here, on Titus about what's involved with this. But to solve this puzzle, how did you guys do this? I
read the note that said it's...
Yeah.
Just remember the names.
Yeah, I effectively typed out each name in order, and then it just opened up. But apparently...
My instinct was to use the initials, which didn't actually really work out. And then only eventually did I get sort of tipped off at, it's the full names, which felt a bit too heavy for me to have thought of. Like, that's a lot of clicking to do, but then, it really was that much clicking.
That was what seemed odd to me. I just clicked the ones the first time that weren't open, and then that didn't work. And then I was like, well, I guess I gotta type the whole thing. That one took 2 minutes to figure out.
And when you're done, it makes out an I.
Mm-hmm. That was fun. By the way, it turns out if you do misclick, you can genuinely just unclick it and try again. The order does not matter, it's just the final shape. That's how the game recognizes it.
All right, you're getting a bit of packet loss currently, so we'll just watch that and see what happens quest caping.
All right.
But after you enter that in, you get to pick up the Shadow Ward. And when you deliver this one, Zamorak appears. And, I don't know. I still feel like the most interesting discussion so far was Saren. But Zamorak also continued to improve in my books here. He wonders what Azzanadra is going to ultimately say, because prior to Ascension, the Majorat believed that the likes of Zamorak and others to be false gods. Zamorak said that he also wants to see a future for the Majorat where history and squabbles are put behind them and they can move forward as brothers and sisters. Zamorak also wonders what ascended Majorat, like him and Azzanadra, could achieve. Azzanadra says he'll think on this.
Yeah, it's interesting, because Zamorak's been all about Majorat unity, especially since Children of Ma. It's like, put aside your squabbles and let's work together. And I guess that does make it more in character that he's willing to put things aside for the sake of Gielinor earlier, hey?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Genuine show of maturity. It's interesting that, Azzanadra being one of the most faction-based of all the Majorat, because he was the one who you felt would always bat for Zaros, no matter what. But surprise, surprise, now he's having this crisis of faith, and he has remarkably little to say against Zamorak.
And we'll see if this is all a big con eventually.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's take the gloves off and deal with the Blood Ward, because this one is the puzzle one, the big puzzle one. This one can be found in the blood bank on the west side of the city, and I think that this is the most complex puzzle and ward to unlock, because it requires information from the blood bank itself, the blood bank ledger, which comes from one of the houses where the Gargoyle Sentinel was up north, and a checklist as well from the blood bank. Now, this one
is my favorite.
It really was it?
Mm-hmm.
This is effectively doing a balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You follow
I
what
have a master's degree in that.
Woo! You follow
qualified for questing.
You follow the instructions on the checklist, and what it turns out that you do is if the checklist says to modify the supply based on that, then you do that. Then you compare the supply on day 478 to 479, and following from that, after you'll see a difference. So after 478, you operate on the checklist. Then you subtract the day 479 withdrawals, add the 479 deposits, and then based on this, the absolute difference between this number and the stock for 479 is what you need to add to the door to get it to open, which is ultimately 2 human, 3 unicorn, 1 dragon, and 2 avian sea units of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a picture of my. I did mine by hand, but you used a spreadsheet. Earth.
Wow.
What did you do, Questscaping?
I opened up Notepad and just sort of started taking notes on everything, and converting everything into eighths is what I also did, but it also kind of led me into a bit of a few mess-ups and getting things just a little too off and realizing, hey, that really doesn't add up. So I kind of toiled away too hard in the maths department.
This would be a fun problem for a kid learning fractions.
It sure would. Fun is in decimals. The blood way. Oh, wow.
Okay, I use fractions.
Nerds. I say as I made a full balance sheet in Microsoft Excel.
Well, RuneScape is the spreadsheet game.
Is it?
Yeah. You can
Have you seen the PVM spreadsheets? They're quite something.
And come on, Reed, you've had your own.
I got skilling ones.
You've had your own spreadsheets before for this game.
Yeah, I've made my own.
Not so often that questing makes us do spreadsheets, though.
No.
Is this the tide of the future updates to come?
Yeah.
Spreadsheets for quests?
I hope not.
I'm down.
But Sirion actually wrote his article on this week because he felt that the shadow puzzle was right on the spot, but sometimes in the blood puzzle it relied on information that was effectively scattered out, and there was really no way of gathering that unless you gathered everything from within the city. So you can give his article.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, you did.
It was right there.
No, but you
do have to actually go to
You have to
somewhere
go get
else.
the ledger, but it tells you where it is.
Sure, but there's one thing on the desk and one thing on the stack of books in the sort of lobby, and I missed the lobby one at first, and that was the one that told me where to find the ledger, so I was stuck for a little bit.
You should have looked better.
Okay, fair enough.
That's your own fault.
But in any case, Sirion has a good discussion about puzzles and, how you design a good puzzle and whether or not the solution should be something that is easy to find or if it's something that is more pointed out, like the Shadow Ward puzzle. So you can give that a read at informer.rsbnb.com. But after you get the Blood Ward, you deliver this ward, and this is when Armadil appears, the last god to make an appearance in all of this. And at this point, I think I'm going to pass this off to you. Actually, no, we got to talk a bit about what Armadil had to say first, I think, because that's important. Because if we don't talk about what Armadil said, we'll be into the end of the quest. But from our discussions earlier when we were setting this up, we know that Armadil thinks that this cause is ultimately going to be just, and he further reiterates that, though this time he says that he won't be putting the Avian Seas through another war. And he wants them to spend their time on Abana, saying goodbyes to their loved ones, and living out their final days in peace, which makes sense given everything Armadil has seen and been through in the past. He also tells Azzanadra at this point that there's more to being a god than just being a general, which I thought was interesting.
It's interesting how these gods are all here effectively giving him god advice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the perfect way to put it with this. They're teaching him how to be a god because he is the newbie on the street, so to speak. And aside from, just having power, he probably doesn't know or doesn't have the thought of the experience that these ones have. So
this is a hell of a way to get that initiation.
Yeah. But the quest is almost over. But before we do that, I'll just take a break here. No, we're not going to Patreon yet. I realize that probably sounded like we were going to Patreon, but we're going to tackle a question from Probably Writing right now. They want to know, do you think Azzanadra is in this for the long run and is going to stab us in the back, or is he genuinely going to side with us in the end?
This is definitely a question the quest is very invested in, because it felt like every 2 seconds we were being given another prompt to ask how we really felt about Azzanadra. In the opening cutscene with Karos and Ariane, you can say what you feel about Azzanadra to his face, and then you can say it behind his back. So you get that nice little distinction there.
I felt like it was on there, it's like I said earlier, with Sarah Doman being like, no, I don't want to do this, but I said I would protect the people of this land or whatever. That's all I feel Azzanadra was doing. He had, an oath of loyalty to Zaros, and it just happened to conflict with us this time versus the 36 other times that it didn't.
I want to bring Tanis in on this because based on what you heard, you haven't invested yourself in this particular quest, so to say. But based on what you heard, do you think we're going to get stabbed in the back?
No, I don't. I just have this feeling that Azzanadra is playing it straight. And I don't know what would be gained by stabbing us in the back.
Zaros' master plan.
Yeah, but what is that? We still don't have any...
Become an elder god.
Which has still never been explained. No.
They call it a Deus Ex Machina.
I hope we don't end the series this way.
Thank you.
I hope we don't end the series this way.
Yeah.
But
honestly, I do think he is playing it straight.
yeah, I think so too.
I do not like this guy, and like as a person, there's a lot to be said about him as a character, but in terms of me as a character getting along with him as a character, that's not actually like I was picking all the don't trust him options, but honestly, as a removed player of the game, I do think he's playing it straight. He's genuinely trying to save Gielinor, even if Zaros doesn't actually care. Mm-hmm.
And
I also...
And the reason I think they'd go that path is because every time in the past, the World Guardian has been duped. There has to be one of these points where we don't get duped, right?
Fair enough.
Well,
I almost...
Oh, sorry, Questcave.
I almost worry about the extent to which he is putting in a lot with us, because one of his last lines in the quest is, "I placed my faith in you." And as we all know, Azzanadra's faith is pretty strong, and I'm not sure I want that the entire magnitude of Azzanadra's faith in me. I don't want to be his rebound, thanks.
Nice.
All right.
I just think, isn't it possible, though, for him to have just realized that he always thought Zaros, even though he might not understand, had the best, wishes of the world at heart, right? Like, he might want it to be ordered or whatever Zaros stands for.
Pulling the strings from behind the scenes.
Right, but still, I don't think until now he ever realized that Zaros was willing to throw everything away in order to pursue his own power.
Yeah, that's how I read it, too. Like...
So you're on the same side as thinking that he's playing it straight today?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean... Hell, he even apologized for having to fight against us.
And he apologized to Saren as well about the whole rejuvenation thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very interesting, and I'd be interesting to hear what you have to say, probably writing on this, because I think questions are fun to talk about. But I wonder if what we've just done is go 4 against 1 about what you actually think is going to happen. So feel free to send in a follow-up next week if we completely floored you by saying that we think he's actually playing it straight this time. So, thank you for that question. But that's the end of the quest. With the wards in place, there's one final bit of business. Karapak appears as a projection from the Elder Gods. He says that he would have assisted in this plan, and he points out that it was our own interference in his plan that resulted in him being turned into the Elder Gods' proxy. He also says it's ironic that our plan is now his original plan, to steal the eggs.
Yeah, we kind of...
Mm-hmm. We really screwed him over, didn't we?
Yeah, we kind of deserve this.
Nah. He's asking for it.
He also says that the Elder Gods' armies are coming, and they're going to retake the eggs by force. And in terms of summing up what we have on the opposite side, we have, of course, the Takar, which are Ful's forces. And in terms of Jazz's forces, we have Karapak and the Nodin, who... Karapak actually bound the Nodin to the needle to power it. So we're going to be fighting a boatload of Dragonkin when this happens.
Yay!
Those are the only ones that were mentioned, but can we think that there might be anyone else involved aside from the Takar and Karapak and the Nodin?
Yeah, that's where I'm really blindsided, because I can't genuinely see anyone else getting in on this. There's not really many Elder God-aligned people around, apart from the ones who Ariane crushed up and snorted or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, who would have been Wynn's people? Did she have any? Or...
And Bick as well?
Oh, and Beck, yeah.
Oh, they make good pens. What?
Oh, that's funny.
Good lighters, too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
they partnered with Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg.
What? Who did?
Nick.
What for?
Good for candles and more.
Hold on. Yeah, I'll hold on.
I don't. I don't get that.
I'm
but
posting it in general for you, Shane.
All right.
It's incredible.
On our side,
Incredible advertising.
we have Saren and Helweir and his army. Saradomin brings forth the Temple Knights. Zamorak is bringing Kirill and the Twin Furies, and Armadil is just bringing Kriara.
Thanks, Armadil.
Yay.
Well, I guess if anybody wanted Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg to ever appear in RuneScape, here's your chance.
The followers of Bic. Oh, dear.
It seems like we have the majority. Except
Of what?
the majority of forces, but not necessarily the majority of power, let's say. Because we saw what the Takar can do in the battle, and we know what the Dragon King can do.
Yeah.
Well, who knows what the Elder Gods might summon up, because just because we don't know anything aligned with Wen and Bic doesn't mean they won't create something.
And who knows what's in the Codex as well in terms of stored powers they have.
All true. A whole bunch of Zeracian souls. And Char.
Memories of past revisions.
Guildbuster Tony.
Perhaps. I wonder if Raksha counts as that. Who knows?
Oh boy.
But in any case, with the gods occupied draining the eggs, Azzanadra is the one who will coordinate defenses. Your player almost says that I could do it, but is cut short by Saren, who actually asks Azzanadra to do it, believe it or not. And it's implied that the battle is imminent, while Azzanadra and the others will hold off the Elder Gods' forces for as long as they can. There is a subtle suggestion that the World Guardian needs to find a solution. Quest complete.
Yeah. And it just ends right there.
Yeah.
They did it in the most annoying way possible, though.
Okay, so is this
It
thoughts?
felt like the end of Halo 2, where it's like, we're finishing this fight, and then the credits roll. I felt very misled. I thought something more was about to happen.
Well, the next big thing that happens is the Elder God Wars itself, which is starting next month.
Keep in mind, I went into this knowing literally nothing.
True.
So
Yeah,
that could
the average
be my
player.
fault.
Right, and how would a
But-
normal player know that, right?
I mean, I didn't even read the news posts, so...
Okay. And to me, what this reads as is that the Elder God Wars is just going to be a lore-building event, and we're not actually going to find the solution inside the Elder God Wars dungeon itself. But that's going to be saved for another quest at the tail end of this year, where we'll do that.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Perhaps a trilogy.
Could very well be that. We just have
dun,
to
dun.
hope that they don't, use the magic powers of writing and completely wave away the problem with that.
Have they ever done that before?
Of course.
Only if you were going to go on a quest with somebody. Wait, who was that again?
Quest rewards are 3 quest points, 50,000 XP in Archaeology, Slayer, and Magic, as well as a Combat XP lamp for 50,000 XP. And you also get 4 new Ancient Magics, which are Smoke Cloud, Animate Dead, Exsanguinate, and Incite Fear. And you also have the ability to make the Pontifex Shadow Ring, which is an upgrade from the ring from the previous quest. And if you wear this inside the city, the city of Senntisten, you won't take damage from the shadows anymore.
I don't think you
word.
take damage from shadows anymore. Okay, I think all the things are lit.
It doesn't light everything, though.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Have you tried using the teleport? There's some fun dialogue with intern Jimmy.
Yeah, it's supposed to teleport you to the city of Senntisten, but he says that, we're still working out the kinks, so it just teleports you outside for the time being.
It feels they were so apologetic about this reward. Like, Rowley on stream was saying, hey, yeah, this new reward, it's gonna look like a really bad upgrade at first, but trust me, we're gonna make it better. And even in the quest itself, intern Jimmy is saying, okay, yeah, this teleport is kind of useless at the moment, but trust me on this. Trust me.
Yeah. This starts off with a Pontifex
What a guy.
signet ring, which you excavate from Caradat. After Azzanadra's quest, you combine it with the Blank Observation and a Lapis Lazuli to create the Pontifex Observation Ring, and then you can make the Pontifex Shadow Ring by combining that Observation Ring with a Dragonstone. And it's a
slowly upgrading the kind of gem involved.
It's a tier 2 luck ring. Boosts divination XP by 1%, increases chronicle spawn rate, increases rock opportunities and time sprites, which it did previously as well. But let's talk about the spells, because that's important.
Oh boy.
Obviously, we're not going to go too deep into this, but this does get Magic on the road of being a viable endgame PvE. Well, of course Magic is viable, but it brings it up a notch from where it was compared to ranged and melee. David, I talked to
what?
Ranged and melee. I talked with.
What is that?
It's the kind of combat style where you poke people with spears and whatnot.
Oh, melee! Got it.
I talked to David about these, and he's very pleased with them. Apparently, the one, I forget which exact one it is. It's the one with tank armor.
That's Animate Dead.
Animate Dead, all right. If you use that one with tank armor, it makes a good portion of your God Wars Dungeon 2 creatures AFKable.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
And it gives a reason to wear tank armor when PVMing, because most of the time you just wear power armor.
That's nice. It's been undevalued a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also...
I was going to say, the only problem is there's only one set of high-tier tank armor.
Actor, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise you got to go all the way down to 7s.
Ports.
Well, yeah, I guess ports, yeah.
Yeah, but who uses upgraded ports? It's...
Shane.
Ports is very good.
Wow. Okay. I'm honestly thinking...
using all three of them.
But just let's look at this. The cost on Animate Dead: 6 soul runes, 15 blood runes, 15 death runes, and 30 earth runes for one cast.
Throwing about 10k per cast.
Yeah,
that's quite something.
And what this one does...
How often does it actually cast it?
Like any magic spell.
So, like, one time in an entire Slayer task?
No. Every time you want to do damage.
I go in with, like, 1,000 runes and come out with, like, 980. Because it uses abilities. Am I doing it wrong?
No. But
then I don't follow.
It can still be pretty expensive at the end of the day. Replaces life with shadows to create a shield from the fallen. And for each piece of magic tank armor worn, gain 10% of its armor value as a damage reduction, 33% of your defense level as flat damage reduction, lasts for 12 minutes. So it's not too bad. Mm-hmm. And damage cannot be reduced by more than 75%.
Mm-hmm. I want to say this honestly seems like something which obviously has very much fallen out of vogue, but something that would be really good for PvP. Because tank armor has always been the meta in PvP, just being able to hold out against an opponent's attacks. But this, just having this immense damage reduction going on, it is a massive it is a massive bonus to if you're in the wilderness trying to run off from someone, or even just in some minigame or whatever, trying to stay alive and while killing someone else. It is kind of a massive upgrade to PvP combat, especially magic-wise.
Yeah, so you cast this once and it lasts for 12 minutes, so it's not too bad. And then you could probably switch to you could switch to ice or blood after this.
Hey.
Next up is Smoke Cloud. Disorient the target with a veil of smoke, leaving them vulnerable. Increases the target's damage taken from critical strikes by 15%. The damage cap against the target when landing a critical strike is increased by 12%. Lasts for 2 minutes. This one takes 5 soul, 5 blood, 5 chaos, and 10 air runes.
They're loving it.
Yeah.
It's like McDonald's.
This one's okay. I think Anime Dead is still my favorite. But let's look at Exsanguiate next. Oh, that was weird. My mouse just completely froze up. Uh-oh. But in any case, Exsanguiate is a fire-based spell. This one requires 3 blood, 1 death, and 5 fire runes. And you'll gain a stack of Blood Tithe, which is a maximum of 12 stacks for 20 seconds. And each stack of Blood Tithes increases basic ability damage by 1%. And at 12 stacks, your Rack ability transforms into Rack and Ruin.
Yeah, this is the one I'm hearing.
Transforms into what?
A new one called
Rack and Ruin.
Rack and Ruin.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the upgrade to basic ability damage is pretty hefty.
Yeah.
But I also think you don't want to waste all your stacks on Rack and Ruin because it's basically like, it's not that good. I tried it out. It's not that good. You want to keep the stacks so you can keep on pushing it with the basic ability damage upgrade.
Right. So just, keep the stacks and don't use Rack then, basically, is what you're saying, right?
That's my uneducated PVM opinion, yeah.
Right. And the last one is Incite Fear, which is level 98 with 1 soul, 2 blood, and 10 water runes. And on ability to cast, you gain a stack of Glacial Embrace, max of 5 stacks for 20 seconds. And each stack reduces the adrenaline cost of Tsunami by 12%. So with that, you're reducing an ultimate down to the cost of a threshold to 40%. At 5 stacks, your ability cast will trigger Frost Surge for a 12-second cooldown, and Frost Surge deals between 10 and 50% ability damage to the primary target and 8 adjacent enemies in a 5x5 square. So these definitely seem like something to get Magic on the map again. David feels that this is a good start, but more work needs to be done, and who knows, they'll probably do that with Elder God Wars Dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
So, anybody have any final words on the quest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I do. So from everything that I read and watched and just kind of watched the community react to, this reminded me of something a few years back, and I'm so glad we have guests on the show that will understand this this metaphor. But it hit all of the high points of like what Desert Treasure did, right? It almost captured that. It seems like it almost captured that kind of nostalgic
That's
feel.
Exactly what Mod Sponge said he wanted to do.
Right, but it was a little bit different. So actually, what this really reminds me of is The Force Awakens. That movie was the same way. It hit all of the. It was almost a beat for beat on the original. It wasn't until
was that the last one?
No,
The
first one.
7, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was about to have some very strong.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Sir.
Well, but it wasn't until the second and third movie that everything went off the rails. But especially with the second. So I mean,
Okay.
I'm curious to see where it's going to go from here. Will the follow-up quest go the way of the Ryan Johnson kerfluffle that killed my favorite franchise? I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
You can keep J.J. Abrams there, Tanis, on the Star Wars side.
Well, we'll keep him as long as you take Ryan, because he ain't allowed back.
Ryan? Who?
I like Ryan Johnson. Knives Out was fantastic.
Yeah, well, after what he did to Luke Skywalker, I have choice words for you.
All right.
What, the giant space titty?
All right. Questcaping Earth, any final words?
Well, I would just like to expand upon what Hannah said about it really bringing back that nostalgic feel.
Oh, yeah.
And I agree. I mean, I think Shane and I are already planning a special episode, if I may speak to that. But I have recently, just on a whim, picked up playing Old School RS. So I'm going through all of these quests again, and I'm actually working on the Desert series right now. And this very much reminded me of all of the old quests that, like from 2007 and prior.
Yeah, and that's what I felt coming into this.
Especially with it giving you basically no help. Questcaping, you mentioned earlier, the not being able to find the book for the ledger, right? Where it told you where to find the book.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing, eh?
Yeah. Elemental Workshop 1, the quest guide said, there is obviously lots to do here. I'm not even kidding.
There sure is.
Look at this. That's all it said.
Yeah, and the general thing I think
I love that
comes forward with this is that this is a quester's quest, whereas Azzanadra's quest was a Lorehound's player's quest.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect way to describe it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing about Azzanadra's quest, because I enjoyed it. I know you enjoyed it. Questcaping enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. It's different approaches.
It's just a different approach to telling the story. They're both good quests, but this is a very traditional quest.
Yeah, it's exploration focused, as far as the Senntisten segment goes anyway.
Yeah.
I did see some people saying it felt very sort of errand doing in the first bit, go here, do this, talk to this person. But once you did get to Senntisten, it really kicked in.
You have to set it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every quest has some elements of that, right? I mean, after watching people do the actual, the wards part, I mean, that's the thing that reminded me, oh yeah, you like story, you don't actually like quest. In fact, you hate quest. You just like story.
Yep.
And so I was quite content with reading the story this week and not sitting there for 2 hours looking for a book that I'm never ever going to find.
And learning to do a balance sheet, right?
Yeah, that's not my thing.
Aww.
All right, let's give this quest a rating out of 5. Tanis, go.
4.
4.
Questcaping. 4 for me. Earth?
5.
All right, fair enough.
I thought it was very well done.
Good scores.
I'm always so leery about giving out 5s. I think I've only ever given out 3 of them, and that's just me on the side of things in terms of the way I see things. So it could very well be a 5, but it just doesn't move the needle like something like Plague's End did.
It doesn't feel like it's enough yet, honestly.
Yes, exactly. If it delivered on that, would have definitely been a 5 in my camp.
And
I know you, Earth.
5 to the Shadow of, I think it's the Shadow of Ashdale or whatever.
Yeah, that was
because it was exactly what they told us it was going to be.
And I know that's how you rate quests, and I appreciate that.
The funny thing is, though, will your rating change if this is followed with, like, just, you know, a great follow-up like Empire Strikes Back? You know?
I guess that's something you can only do. But that's rating the whole, I guess.
But sometimes when the sequel comes out and it's so good, it makes you look at the original in a different light. Going,
true.
Oh, that was really good.
Setting all that up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. We are going to move on to patch notes and questions. Before we do that, though, I just want to thank our Patreon supporters for making this episode possible. You guys do so much for us, so it's only right we thank you guys this week. I'd like to thank Andrew C., Arvids L., Brock H., Cameron, CGB900, Kristen S., Chunk the Monk, Cook Me Plunks, Danny C., Diana, Drama Free, Dream Delayed, Duramax, Jade Gizmo, Jason, Kesky, Lucky Ducky, Nate the Great, Nora, Pernasius, Rastafa, Ren H, Ricky A, Samuel FL, Scott DS, Soupfinder, Stub Eve, The Bears OP, The Naked Captain, The Lion, Tom V, and Zant. Thank you all of you for your support. It does truly mean the world to us, and in case you're wondering what we're talking about and you're not any of these wonderful people that we just named out here, head on over to patreon.com/RSBANDB. There you can gain, for as little as $1 a month, access to the entire back catalog of monthly bits. We have one coming up in about a week and a half, 2 weeks on RuneScape Mobile, because that finally shipped this month. You had a special mention in our show notes thanking us, and you, of course, help funds the cost for hosting and production of RSBANDBupdate. For $3 a month, if you are so inclined, you'll receive a special VIP rank on Discord and a special mention on the podcast at the start of the month. And you'll also gain access to high-quality stereo versions of the podcast. And for $5 a month, you'll receive a shout-out each and every week on the podcast and gain exclusive access to the outtakes that we use to make the clip show. And we're currently working up towards a little milestone here. We'll be doing a mail-out to our Patreon supporters, including a postcard and maybe something else that we'll be doing virtually. So just keep your eyes on that at patreon.com/RSBNB. And should we ever reach $500 a month, well, Tanis and I are going to have a fun time with the Hot Ones Challenge. You ready for that?
How was it $200?
You said fun? Well, that's not how I will describe it.
No, it's at 5.
Thought it was at 200.
No, we're not putting it that low.
Go on, get touching.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you guys want to see us suffer? There you go.
Pay for your suffering.
Yeah.
That's why you invite me on the show.
Oh, you're coming for the $500 Hot Ones episode?
No. You suffering.
Oh. Well, you can be the moderator of that one in case Tanis and I are not able to talk. How's that sound?
Oh, you not?
You know, we do need a host.
That's a dream come true.
We do need a host because someone has to ask hotter and hotter questions as we.
I'm in.
Wings. That's how Hot Ones works.
Well, you can learn more about this at patreon.com/RSBNB. Before we go on to the patch notes, I just do have one final thing that I'd like to show you guys, and this is something called the YouTube short that we put together for Azzanadra's quest. You can find it linked in the show notes at update.rsbnb.com. But we put this together, 5 things you might have missed in Azzanadra's quest. We talked about most of them on the show. Little nuggets here and there. I'm not going to spoil exactly what it is in the audio version, but go check it out at youtube.com/RSBNB. Sirion and I produced this week. We had a fun time doing this, and some of the intermediate ones we came up with we'll just save for another date in terms of what we thought of potentially going with before we settled on this format. So maybe we'll release something like that to the Patreon supporters. But just imagine Sirion trying to speak Zoomer language. And that's what one of the drafts looked like. So there we have it. YouTube.com/RSBANDB for our first RuneScape short. All right, patch notes. Starting off with the mobile client, the positioning of the minimap tutorial is no longer covered by notches on some devices. That's good. And
which devices could they possibly be referring to?
iPhones, I bet. The camera pan at the end of the Dave and Dale combat level up tutorial now focuses on Stove the Troll. That's such a fun name, Stove the Troll.
What?
What?
What is Dave and Dale?
It's the mobile tutorial.
Modstu's been working on it.
There's another tutorial?
Yep.
Yeah,
Exclusively for mobile players, though.
It's pretty
okay.
decent.
All right.
Yeah. Buttons on the clan chat and group list no longer overlap. And an issue has been fixed that prevented auto-generated names from being displayed.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
I think
What
that
are
means
auto-generated names?
in the tutorial, before you choose your name, you have an auto-generated name.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Like round keyboard 42 or something?
No. Player hash with a bunch of numbers after it.
Oh, lame.
Other changes include improving visibility on group invites by adding a backdrop to the icon. That's good.
Yeah, there's been so many times I've missed that.
Yeah, the grouping system is something we got, but it just really feels so unfinished still.
Oh, that's the one that popped up in the center of your screen and you never saw, right, Shane?
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. That's right. The Sarin Crystal Bow weapon override now animates correctly. Gaining the Stake Your Claim achievement from picking up a cowhide during the Way of the Ranger path will now correctly unlock the leatherworking path.
It's tutorial stuff, eh?
Yeah, and another one for paths. Removed the Taverley path book and moved its Herblore summoning and farming paths into the Berthorpe path for ease of access. Players can now reliably inspect the trophy case in the Death of Chivalry quest. Perhaps I shouldn't have mentioned this one, given our recent discussion of Death of Chivalry 2.
Do they like
going
draw
into
attention to stuff that they don't finish? I mean, is that the...
I don't know. I don't know. Changing the zoom distance on the world map no longer affects the camera draw distance.
I did notice that.
Yeah, I didn't. Or maybe I did, because I was wondering why my minimap was zoomed in so much on the quest replay. Zoom sensitivity will no longer revert to the default value after relogging.
On the world map, Shane.
Yeah.
That's not the same as the mini-map.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. Legendary pets will now revert back from the Beast of Burden's inventory interface when the timer expires. And that's good, because we just had a round of summoning ninja strikes last week that kind of touched on this and made it easier to convert that legendary pet into a Beast of Burden legendary pet.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone should pick up a legendary pet if you have not.
I love my fire lichen.
I want to get the prototype Colossus one. Even though I already
the Twitch Prime, right?
No, I'm not Twitch Prime. What was that, Earth?
I got a puppy.
That's good.
Yay.
Which one's the puppy?
Is that the fire lichen? Oh, there's a water one as well, isn't there?
Hold on.
It's a dragon wolf.
Yeah, dragon wolf. Puppy.
Good. Characters no longer float in certain areas of the Lumbridge market, and fixed an uncommon issue where having no username could halt progression during character creation. And with that, we do need to have a talk about mobile at some point. I think we'll want to come back to that one of these quiet weeks going forward, and maybe even on the monthly bit as well, because I think there's a lot to actually discuss on that, and about how it's been perceived and whatnot going forward. So keep an eye on that for our next monthly bit, everyone. But that's the patch notes for this week. Nice and concise after us doing Quest, but we do have a couple of quick questions before we move on to our picks of the week. So starting off with a question from Drama Free. Quick question for you in the podcast this week. When was the last time you had to look at the requirements for an upcoming quest. New and returning players have to, for each and every quest, instead of looking at the Battle of the Monolith as batched content, could this be a way for the RuneScape 3 team to give max players a sense of accomplishment before jumping into a quest day one?
I'm not sure, because I think most people had been doing Battle of the Monolith as it went along. Yeah. Though I did hear from a non-quester friend, because I do have those sometimes. He'd apparently just run through the entire Battle of the Monolith immediately before doing the quest and just stuck it out because he didn't realize it had been a requirement. So I guess there are people out there who just haven't been following along with it. I guess it hasn't really been too well signposted inside the game itself for people not following the news announcements, etc. Like, if you log in, there's a pop-up showing you about City of Senntisten that will actually teleport you to the quest starting point. But I don't think there was anything like that for the Battle of the Monolith. I guess that could easily just slip past the player's notice.
There was on week 1. You got an option to teleport directly to it.
But there's very much a possibility that people haven't been following along with the coming weeks.
Yeah, and in terms of the requirements, I think the last time I probably did that was... What was that quest with all the level 75s that were required back in the day?
Plague's End?
Plague's End.
That might be it. Though I probably had all the 75s at the time, because you would have needed... No, you didn't need invention for that. I feel like it was...
had me check for this quest because he doubted that I had whatever the
74
archaeology requirement was, but I mean, the only time it's come out, the only time I've had doubts, it's been when divination was involved before I got like 80.
Well, that's not going to be a problem anymore in this day and age.
Yeah.
Because divination is better now.
Yay.
Yes. It's still just RuneSpan.
But yeah, I mean, I'd have to go back to at least Plague's End, maybe even before that.
My one was Pieces of Hate, 2017. Okay. It had a fairly high thieving requirement, I think in the 70s, and I had to actually train quite considerably in the days coming up to it.
And I mean, I think there might have been some question about, working in when they were doing behind the scenes way back when for the quest, because what they used to do is they'd do a behind the scenes article at the start of the month, and they'd talk about the things that were going to be on the way. So you'd have that time to train up for it. But by and large part, ever since Priest in Peril came out and we got Mauritania, I've done quests on the week of launch.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So, going way, way back. So, if not Plague's End, I'd say Gothic Sleeps.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, it's whichever one had, I think there was one with mid-80s divination requirement.
Right. I remember that. That was a time.
I remember being very displeased.
Yep. How about you, Tannis?
I haven't looked at quest requirements since probably before I maxed, and before I got the quest cape for the first time. I no longer own that, but I did it one time. So I think the last one that I would have looked up probably would have been Ritual.
Ritual of the Majorat?
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fair enough. And in regards to, rather than looking at the Battle of the Monolith as batched content, I think you do have a point in that it's, in effect, using the content as build-up to what's inevitably going to come going forward from this. And I think that's a good way of looking at it, because everybody else has just said, oh, you could have released this, the week before City of Senntisten and had everyone play through it. But by releasing it at the beginning, we have this adventure to go through, and it progressively changes week after week, and the tension is ramping up, or at least it should feel that way. So for anybody who is a Max player or a quester, I think this is something we haven't experienced before, and I think that'd be an interesting question to ask the people of Clan Quest. I haven't asked that question to Clan Quest, but that might be an interesting one to take.
Well, for those of you that it actually worked for, I mean, do you think it was, to me, looking at it, it should have been a pretty good balance between go and do this activity, almost like a weekly thing, but not really taking over your gameplay or getting in the way of any...
It was relatively minor.
It was 15 minutes tops.
Right. So, I mean, actually, I've really started to like that it was split up. Now, in my case, it didn't matter. But, you know, from the outside looking in, if I was someone else, it seems like that would have hit the right mark for me.
Yeah.
There's really something to be said about using time in the flow of your storytelling, like not just dropping it all at once. Say the Netflix model, I guess, versus actually, as the contrast of that being watching a TV show week after week.
I mean, take TV now versus in the 90s. Now, I mean...
Now it's just on demand, and if it doesn't exactly fit what you want, you don't watch it.
Yeah.
Well, we still have the weekly models, too, because, like, I mean, look at big blockbusters like The Mandalorian or something. That's only once a week.
And that's, once again, this building
hype
thing.
Or you wait until the end and just watch it all at once.
That's another way of doing it.
Have patience.
That's another way.
That's what I did with WandaVision. Watch the whole thing in a night.
Wow.
I remember
it can be done.
I remember you did a similar thing with Tiger King last year when you came on the show for archaeology.
Oh my god. That was less I wanted to watch it and more I could not stop watching.
Yeah, that was definitely a trainer.
That was an era.
Yes. Special time.
Anyways, we're moving on from the question here about Battle of the Monolith, but Sirion does have a question about that week after week rigmarole. So week after week with new twists and turns being added to Battle of the Monolith. Many of these events feel like they should have gotten more attention on their own, or at least a bigger lead-up. And with the release of City of Senntisten right after the event, and of course the Elder God Wars dungeon penciled in for next month, and a front after that, and after that, and after that, 4 in a row, everything hints at the possibility of the team working on Battle of the Monolith to rush all these narrative events in to not get in the way of further content. Last RuneFest, Jagex said they wanted all content to be driven more by narrative, and Sirion thinks that the Battle of the Monolith is an example of what can go wrong. The Elder God Wars dungeon, probably the headline update of 2021, is now locked behind a set of story beats that need to be hit one way or another. If a certain story beat needs more than passing mention to have the appropriate impact, that is now possible, because that story beat has to fit in the existing release schedule. Do you think that these assumptions hold true? And if so, do you think Jagex needs to make changes to the relationship between game updates and narratives? And for the bonus round, knowing what you know today, are there any storylines in RuneScape that you hope won't be a major theme for a given year?
Well, I think what he largely means here is things like the story beat of Azzanadra ascends to godhood, which turned out to be week 3. Yeah, week 3, and the ongoing thing that people might have dropped by that point.
Or was it 4?
I think it was 3.
Okay.
And it's... I don't know, we mentioned this earlier, so I said it was something of a slow burn, that it's not so much that it was dropped there and that was it. It's more like it is continuing. The entire thing is yet to be felt out. We're still progressing with that story beat and what it means.
And you raise a point here. Just because we dealt with the Ascension thing in Battle of Monolith doesn't mean we can't come back to that at some point.
Yeah.
In some kind of mini event or a lore book inside Elder God Wars.
Because this is another thing with the approach they're taking now, that there is a lot of lore being given in practically everything, and that means not just one opportunity to address something, but multiple.
Yeah.
I can't help but to think about what's the alternative. The alternative is what we have seen over years and years and years of storylines that start off with all kinds of piss and vinegar and then just piddle off and no one cares. And 10 years later, oh, well, now all of a sudden we have gone. Prifdiness, or the dev is gone, or even if it may be briefer and not have the depth that we would all like, I still think there's something to be said about a story that has a beginning, a middle, and end, and we hit them all, and it's not setting out there for years upon years.
Yeah. And I haven't been able to get an answer on this. I need to approach the right people to get an answer on this question, but I haven't been able to get an answer on this question of why Battle of the Monolith was batched the way it is. I think I know the answer, and it's to drive engagement, build hype for City of Senntisten and the Elder God Wars, but there's also this thing we now have on our phone called RuneScape Mobile that batched content in the form of Battle of the Monolith can benefit from.
And here we have more batch content with the Elder God Wars, which is coming out month by month instead of week by week.
Yeah, and people were hitting the roof over that last week. We didn't have time to cover it then. They said it was going to be different when they announced it in January. And we need to know that the boss, you're not going to have aspects of a boss trickled out a week at a time. You're going to get a boss in 1 month. And that's better for me as a content creator. I can learn the boss. I can do the boss. We can talk about one boss at a time.
You get to complete that experience.
It's better for everybody. Look, I love Snickers, and I can eat a whole damn bag of them in one night. But it's probably better if I only have a couple. Maybe a few more tomorrow.
Oh my god, I get a whole new Snickers bar tomorrow?
Exactly. No, you have to. This is one of the cases where they do need to save people from themselves. If you had a boss coming out every week, they would rush it. It would end up sucking, not having that big of an impact. Yeah,
and I don't know how we'd cover more than one boss in a week on the show here.
Well, we would need to duplicate David, however many number of times.
And you and I would be going down there too and fighting them.
Oh Lord, no.
Well, yeah. Yay.
Hey, you better get this quest done because I bet these spells we get from this are going to be useful down there.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Or I might just wait for the pendulum to swing because, I was thinking about this. We have these new spells to make Magic more competitive with range. And I'm thinking, it wasn't a year and a half ago when Magic was the meta.
Yeah. And basically what happened is we got the Spear of Annihilation from Archaeology, and then we got Greater Ricochet from Raksha, and that has brought Melee and Magic both up, and that's basically what happened with that. But, Earth, anything on Sirion's question before we go? I think we've done it quite well.
I think y'all covered it.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Thank you, Sirion, for that question. Oh, shit, we didn't answer the one about... are there any storylines you hope won't be a major theme for a given year?
Oh.
No.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Go ahead, Tannis. I'm waiting.
Oh, yeah. No. I don't want any elements and no workshops, and especially no elements in workshops.
All right.
I feel like there's a quest that... I don't like, but I can't remember it.
Broken Home?
What?
Okay. Fair enough. It's gonna hurt half the audience, but I would hate to have an entirely themed PVM year.
Oh, God.
Say that again?
An entirely themed PVM year about PVM.
Oh.
But
here's a monster, here's another monster.
I don't think that there are any storylines that I would say no to, because I think they're all interesting in their own way.
Yeah, honestly, I'm down to see anything as long as it gets an approach that fits it. And I don't think there's anything that really needs to be done all in one as opposed to as a long ongoing thing. Is there anything we're really waiting for just one solid finale on?
Gnomes,
yeah.
Hey. I guess, one solid finale of Alpasandra or whatever, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if they wanted to do something, they could do an entirely themed year about the quest that shall not be named, working up to that.
Hey!
The what?
The quest that shall not be named.
The bird one.
In the bird world,
Macbeth?
everyone's chilling.
The Armadillo quest.
It rhymes with
Why-
fight of massage.
Why
Kinda.
will that not be named? What am I missing?
If you name it, you delay it by another month. That's the meme.
Oh, okay. So it is like the Scottish play. Got it.
All right. Moving on to picks of the week. Windows 11 was announced today. That's my pick of the week, is the news article talking about the impending release of Windows 11. And, you know, this is actually quite interesting because many people thought that this would be a complete game changer for Microsoft. But it looks like it's effectively a new shell put on top of Windows 10. What we know so far is that it's going to be a free upgrade from Windows 10 for those who meet the system requirements.
Which are interesting.
Yeah, they're changing. Apparently, the system requirements require a dual-core 1 gigahertz CPU, 4 gigs of RAM, and 64 gigs of storage.
That's not the interesting one, though.
Windows 11 will be 64-bit only.
That's a necessity.
What's the interesting one that you're saying?
TPM2.
Can you explain that? I didn't.
Trusted Platform module came out in 2019, I believe.
Uh-huh. And what does that do for people?
It's a secure crypto processor, and 2 came out in, I think, 2019. That's if I'm reading this correctly.
Interesting. So you're not going to need one of these to run it, are you?
I'm not sure. Windows 11 has... Well, maybe. So
because
reading...
effectively what I can see this being used for is authenticating and secure storage, right?
It was misleading. Turns out Windows 11 does not need TPM2 after all.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. One thing it does need, though, is that it will require a Microsoft account.
Yeah, so it says 1.2 is required, but... Okay.
Anyone
right,
going back here should have that, though, I think. I know there's lots of people who are going to be upset about the requirement for a Microsoft account. They're making it look more like Mac OS. The start menu... Yeah, the start menu will now be in the center by default.
Changes. It has rounded edges doesn't mean it's Mac OS. It speaks more Chromebook to me.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Apparently Windows updates are also going to be 40% smaller.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I know. They're going to increase over time again with that, even if they bring them down quite a bit. Snap layouts are apparently going to be a thing if you want to do that for snapping windows together, though you've been able to do that ever since Vista.
Yeah.
Multi-monitor improvements. When you can disconnect a secondary display, any open apps will minimize to the taskbar on the laptop so they don't get in the way. And when you reconnect, everything goes back to where it was. Microsoft Teams will be integrated into it.
Oh joy, oh rapture.
Widgets are coming back.
Okay, now it's confirmed. I thought this reminded me a lot of Windows 8, which I skipped, and this one will probably be the same.
Well, you don't need to worry. Windows 7. No, not Windows 7. Windows 10 will be supported until 2025.
Good deal.
Really?
Until we get to 12, then maybe I'll do that.
Yeah. Some changes for the Xbox APIs that connect the Xbox services to Windows, but overall it just feels, I think, more evolutionary than revolutionary. I don't know why they would have had to change the number from 10 to 11 for that. I guess because there's going to probably be people in business who are going to want to stick with 10 and not move to 11 for all the new UI stuff that they need to deal with and all the other distractions that seem to be in the UI here. So this was a big announcement from Microsoft today, and their slogan in their presentation, which I did watch on this, yes, I watched this, they said they wanted to make Windows feel like home with this update.
Well, but but I don't want my computer to feel like home. I don't want it cluttered up with shit like my house is.
Well, Windows computers already are.
Hey.
But we worked really hard to clean them and take all that off.
Uncertain that it would mess up your recording, I would disconnect you from this channel now.
Thank you. Thank you for not doing that. Anyways, Tanis, do you have a pick of the week?
I do. So once again, it is that wonderful time of year where you get to go and buy lots of games on Steam and only play about a third of them. But you have them, and you got them really cheap, and it's awesome. Yeah, right. The Steam Summer Sale is back, and I have a pick called Warhammer Vermintide 2. This is, primarily a melee-based game in the first person. It looks pretty cool. It'll kind of remind you of like the Elder Scrolls ESO if you're because you have a first-person setting for that as well. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But it's a pretty fun game. It's co-op, so that's kind of fun. You can run through it with a buddy, and you can get it on 75% off. I think it's like $7.99 right now.
Nice. Questscaping, I believe you're up next.
All right. So this is going to be a treat for a lot of old Jagex game players. So my pick of the week is Arcanists 2. So this started out as a fan project by people who really loved the old game Arcanists on Funorb.
That was a Funorb game, yeah.
Yes. And yeah, it was a pretty popular one too. It's Worms, but with wizards, but it's fun. Everyone loves it. And yeah, this was a fan project that has recently started getting into talks with senior management at Jagex, and they're working on a plan to formally revive Arcanists. So there are quite possibly big things in the making.
Because we all know Jagex needs a game that's not RuneScape in their belt that's successful, right?
Yeah. And hey, this was pretty good for them back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, they do RuneScape wonderfully, but nothing that was not RuneScape IP had ever taken off.
Arcanists was about as close as they got, honestly.
Yeah.
Made like a bunch of good Java games in the 90s.
Hey.
They really did. They really did.
Like, I think Lego ones, too.
Ooh.
I remember playing those as a kid.
Nice. What? Hey. But yeah, so it's really fun to just get into the old game, and they've made the new updates, and some of them don't really fit, some of them do, but you can even play in the classic mode if you'd like, just as it was back in the day. And you can even play in browser these days. They have that option for the real classic experience, eh?
Nice. Because, of course, these were all Java games initially.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you can find that at arcanist2.com. Earth, did you manage to find a pick of the week, or do you just want to move into achievements?
I did not.
All right, start us off with achievements then.
Okay, so we have Juju Senpai with 99 summoning on June 23rd. Also on that day we have Mesgram with 99 attack, and Patapolo with 99 archaeology. On June the 22nd, there was Ubi Nanubi with 99 crafting, Panda in Love with 99 defense, Sigma Gamma with 99 smithing, and 99 slayer.
Nicely done, everyone. Picking up on the 22nd, we also have WM Penguin with 99 dungeoneering, Zerdones with 99 divination. On the 21st, we have Mahin with 99 woodcutting, Mesgram with 99 agility, Twisted Soul with 99 magic. On the 20th, we have Luke Totodile with 120 farming, Mesgram with 99 prayer, Sigma Gamma with 99 herblore, and Twisted Soul with 99 summoning.
Nice. Well, then on the 19th, we had Derpa New with 120 fishing. We have Previous with 99 magic on the 19th, and Sigma Gamma with 99 Constitution on the 19th, and Zabros with 99 smithing on the 19th.
Nicely done.
So then we had Mesgram again with 99 ranged, magic, constitution, and summoning on June 18th. And then on the 17th, Kedgeworth got 120 constitution, Mesgram again, 99 divination, and Vivian with 99 fire making.
Nicely done, everybody. Well done on all the achievements. Always love seeing these come in, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode. And we'll just catch up with a bit of what we've been doing. So, Questscaping, what have you been up to on RS?
I have been planning for the clan minigame tournament. So that is happening all July, where there's a whole ton of clans that are involved. I think it's got to be 13, 14, 15, somewhere in that range of clans participating. This happened last year as well. We did a few mini games and just massively going all in on training and getting really invested in our own matches. Clan Quest came second in the end, so that was rather nice. And we'll see how we go this time. There's definitely a lot of memes that have been made to taunt the other clans. It's been quite something, even in the run-up.
Oh, I can only imagine. All right. How about you, Tannis?
Still working through Yak Track, getting closer, though. And it's been pretty much my focus. It's been a lot of Yak Track, a little bit of archaeology. And, yeah, it's been it.
All right. As for me, aside from the quest, Yak Track as well. This one, I feel like I'm starting to run up on the time limit on this one. I just finished a huge hunter task. I, for some reason, decided to catch butterflies with this one rather than go do a big game hunter, and I believe, what number was that? That was task 39. So I'm on to 40 right now. After this, we got a divination one that's simple. Following from that, it's either dungeoneering or smelting. 2,000 Bane or Elder Rune bars versus dungeoneering XP. I think 41 is going to be a skip. But overall, I look to be on track to finish this Yak Track as well. And, you know, aside from double XPs and archaeology, Yak Track gives me things to do in RS. And I just really love guiding my RuneScape play through Yak Track. It's a really good thing. All right, and Earth. I saved the best for last.
Damn right you did. I've been playing a lot of old school RS. Just going through all of the quests. It's very interesting to see just how much the game has changed and evolved. But it's really hard to believe that it's the same game.
But I'd also imagine it's a case of seeing where the origins of RS3 emerged, and you can still find those common threads.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting.
Yeah, you and I have been talking a lot about that, and, you know, we did the old school monthly bit last year with Dan, who was heavily involved with the old school Clan Quest Guild, and, you know, we do need to do another one of these at some point going forward, I think, just based on things that have happened in particular in terms of messaging that's been put out by Jagex and just how it feels the games have been carried forward in that case. But I'm not going to get too much into that now because we'd be here for a whole other hour if we did that.
Yes, we could.
But I'm glad that you enjoyed or you're enjoying old school RS. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for this episode of RSBANDB Update, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Quest Weeks are always a blast here at Update. If you want to subscribe to us, you can get us on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, and even YouTube at youtube.com/RSBANB. Look for our first YouTube short there. That'll be up by the time you're listening to this fun little video that we put together. So youtube.com/RSBANB. And with that being said, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of RSBANB Update. Take care, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.